Good evening. I am Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Once again, thank you for joining me on this journey of having conversations with people to pretty much to find out how are they using their gifts and talents to help others, how are they contributing to humanity in a positive way. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, I would just like you to know that CWS, my whole objective at CWS is to create a space for healing and mending hearts. But most importantly, however, is hoping that these conversations that I have will inspire, would inform, would enlighten, and most importantly, encourage people, especially youths, to step beyond their limitations, whether it be circumstances or people close to them telling them that they can't and they shouldn't. I often ask of people, imagine if some young girl or young boy in the diaspora, any of that diasporas, because this is an international show, should hear your story, hear how you might have overcome a challenge, and be inspired to overcome theirs. Imagine what a contribution that would make to humanity or to the society in which they live. Talking about societies, I would be remiss this evening if I did not mention, I am Guyanese, for those of you who are non-Guyanese. I would be remiss if I did not mention a situation that is plaguing a tongue in my country as we speak, a tongue called Linden. There's protests, there's violence, people have been killed, buildings have been burned. There's a school that has been destroyed, leaving about 850 children displaced. There are many efforts in the diaspora to bring some attention to the situation and also to bring some relief. I believe that, and I hope I am not stepping beyond my bounds by mentioning this, but this is not a time for embarrassment. This is a time for us to get together. And I want to mention that I believe Dr. Faith Harding is championing an effort to bring some form of relief to this tongue in the form of donations. There's a group called Linden Matters that are working diligently behind the scenes to inform, to bring information and share news of events that as they occur in this town. But what comes to mind when I'm talking about this crisis is the talk of leadership I keep hearing about. And on one side of the aisle, there are those who are demanding that political leaders step up to the plate, so to speak, and speak in favor of the disenfranchised, and in their words, those that have been oppressed, and speak against the oppressors. On the other side, there is call for caution, there is call for patience, there is call for tolerance. I'm not certain which side of the aisle I should go, or if I should go on any side of the aisle. I have to be responsible because of the space I'm in. However, what comes to mind is the importance of recognizing that when people are being hurt, when there is a crisis of sort as is in Linden, Guyana today, we must take extraordinary actions because those are extraordinary circumstances. I'm not advocating violence. I am just saying that we must pay attention. We must make some kind of a contribution in whatever way we can to bring relief, to bring attention to the situation. In the theater of violence, there is usually suffering, tragedies, as has occurred in Linden. And in that type of climate, there is despair and hopelessness and frustration and, of course, anger to a boiling point. However, what I suggest is that whenever there is hope, hope gives birth to tolerance and patience. And when a people are suffering. You see, it is easy for us on the outside to give our commentary and give our opinions, but when you are in the heat, when you are in the presence of a fire, only you know the intensity of the heat, and sometimes your reasoning might fail you. But I say that, again, I go back to the importance of hope. And what gives hope to people that are oppressed or disenfranchised or marginalized or whatever you want to call it is leadership. And one of the things I want to caution is about what leadership really means. I mean, does it mean someone with great oratorical skills, someone who's born into a particular pedigree, someone who has had the right kind of education, someone who's charismatic? I do not agree with that. I don't believe that. In some cases, history has demonstrated to us that these qualities are possible to create a leader. But I do believe it's circumstances and events that actually entrust upon someone who has acted favorably and extraordinary in those circumstances as a leader. And you know, I believe that throughout history, in the library of history, there's a particular memo that has traveled throughout history, and this memo is one of caution. Don't do this, don't do that, be careful. Be careful of this, be careful of the authorities, be careful of that. And I do believe that that particular memo, someone called Moses did not get that memo. That memo did not, no one told him that he could not give up the comfort of the palaces, of Pharaoh's palace, and listen to the call of God to lead the people out of Egypt. No one gave that memo to the son of a carpenter. History taught us his name is Jesus, who got angry and chased the money changers out of the temple. No one gave that memo to Mahatma Gandhi. No one gave that memo to Benazir Bhutto and Indira Gandhi and Martin Luther King. They stepped up to the plate. No one told them that they couldn't. They stepped up to the plate, and today we are beneficiaries of the sacrifices they have made. I also say that a great leader is one who can make extraordinary sacrifices without waiting around or needing to be around to see the effect of this sacrifice. I am not saying to step forward and commit your life. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that in the face of violence against people, those who cannot help themselves, those who cannot properly articulate their positions or their conditions without anger, without vitriol, I think there's someone or some ones that should be able to do that. So tonight I was torn about giving this message here tonight because I have a very interesting guest here, an actress by the name of Lori Payne, and we are going to shift in a moment. But before I started to speak, I asked myself, how dare you? I mean, who gave you the right to not say something? Who gave you the right to be so cautious that you will not use this position and use this space to bring some kind of attention to what is happening to people? And I really could not withstand my conscience. And so I'm saying to you again today that those of you who are on the sidelines, and I applaud what you're doing, because not everyone that is crying or shouting loudly means that they're making a contribution. I'm just saying thanks to everyone for all your efforts. It's very important for us to come together on this. I'll take a break, and when on the other side of the break, I'll introduce you to Lori Payne.
Writing personal loans and mortgages. With several $100 million of mortgages funded since 1999, Ray's knowledge and experience allows him to advise clients on all types of mortgage transactions. Whether you're purchasing your first home or looking to purchase a rental or investment property, Ray can help you manage the process from first meeting to getting the keys. For mortgages made simple, contact Ray C. McMillan. Mortgages offered under license through Home Mortgage Consultants, Inc., Ontario License 10512. An accredited mortgage professional, Ray C. McMillan has been involved in the investment, banking, and lending industry since 1994. With years of experience as an investment advisor and financial advisor, Ray has provided hundreds of clients with investment advice and underwriting personal loans and mortgages. With several $100 million of mortgages funded since 1999, Ray's knowledge and experience allows him to advise clients on all types of mortgage transactions. Whether you're purchasing your first home or looking to purchase a rental or investment property, Ray can help you manage the process from first meeting to getting the keys. For mortgages made simple, contact Ray C. McMillan. Mortgages offered under license through Home Mortgage Consultants, Inc., Ontario License 10512. An accredited mortgage professional, Ray C. McMillan has been involved in the investment, banking,
I'm back. For those of you who are now joining, I am Selwyn Collins of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. As I promised you, my guest here tonight is the illustrious Lori Payne.
Okay, hi.
Good night, Lori.
Good night. How are you, Selwyn?
I am fine, thank you, and thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Lori, this show here, as I mentioned to you before, is a three-dimensional show. You have you, the guest, me, and then you have the chat room where people go in and they make comments and ask questions. So I'm anticipating a wonderful evening here.
So am I.
Now, I had the pleasure of seeing you perform the role of Mummy, and was it a Christmas evening?
Oh, Christmas weekend, yes.
Christmas weekend, yes.
Written and directed by Nigel Bartow.
Yeah, my good friend.
Yes, one of my favorite people as well.
Yes,
Oh,
wonderful
so
guy,
fun.
wonderful guy. And, I wish the audience, I guess some of them may have seen it, but I wish they could see you because that really drew me to you. I was really impressed with your craft, your work. And so I'm looking here at your bio and the list of accomplishments, you have directing credits. Well, let me do this. Why don't you tell us who Lori Payne is in your words? Who is Lori Payne?
I would say, honestly, I'm a student of life. Mm-hmm. I create because I seek to understand myself and the world around me. And I try to create characters or write plays or produce work that really is an honest interpretation of what I've learned in my life. Mm. So that's basically, what I do, and I suppose that translates into who I am. Mm-hmm. But I'm a writer, I'm a thinker, and I'll try. I'll do anything. I'm not afraid to try new things.
I like that.
So I'm continually learning, and I'm just never afraid to try something. Even if I've never done it before. That's kind of always been my attitude toward my work and, everything I do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's afforded me a lot of opportunities that maybe I wouldn't have gotten if I would have been a little afraid to kind of take that step into unknown territory. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. You're dropping some wonderful pearls of motivations here, and I like that. I would, with your permission, I would love to explore your timeline.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful. When did you realize that you had a knack for either one of the writing, acting? Well, I guess directing comes later, but let's say acting. When did you realize that?
Well, I guess a lot of us started out playing make-believe in the mirror as a little kid. And I did that, and I was fortunate to have creative people in my family. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget at a birthday party, I want to say maybe I was 9 or 10 years old, and the movie Grease had come out. Mm. And there's that scene between John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Mm-hmm. You're the one that I want.
Oh.
You're right. And my uncle and I, we actually memorized all the lyrics, all the steps, and at my birthday party, we performed it for everybody who came. Wow. And it was a lot of fun. I was never... People get stage fright, and you do get stage fright, but I was never... It always came naturally to me, I'll be honest with you. It's just that I understood it innately, what was supposed to happen. And I'm not saying it to toot my own horn, but now that I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, that was really awesome. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there was that. And then, I always wrote stories when I was a little kid, a little girl. I would read a lot. And I always wrote, and then I wrote for the paper in junior high. Okay, I may say this then. My work began writing journalism.
Really?
I studied communications at the University of New Orleans. And before I moved to New York 8 years ago, I wrote feature stories for like regional papers in the city, like the Louisiana Weekly, Where You At Magazine. So it started out there, but there was always this part of me that wanted the creative side. And I was fortunate to get a role in a play in New York City, and I took it. And once I was here, I don't know, are you born, I know you're Guyanese.
Right.
Are you born and raised in New York?
No. I was born in Guyana.
Okay.
I came, as a matter of fact, I lived in New Orleans for about a year when I first came in.
Oh, you
85,
did?
yes.
Wonderful
So
place.
I was going to, a wonderful place,
Yeah.
very, very wonderful
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
So I was going to ask you about that. You were born in New Orleans?
I was born in New Orleans. My parents divorced, and my mother and I moved to a place called Donaldsonville, which is about 60 miles outside of New Orleans. My father's family stayed there. I visited as often as I could, and as soon as I got old enough to get out the house, I went right back. So, I lived there, and I kind of got into doing spoken word.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I did that, and I went ahead and finished my degree. Started doing freelance writing, but there was always this kind of bug, and so I took a drama class in college, and we studied Ibsen and Chekhov and things like that. And around that time is when I got the role in the play in New York, which was completely serendipitous. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Wonderful.
And so I came into the play, and I went back and finished up school. And the following year, they did the play again, and the director called me, and she asked if I wanted to do the role again. I'm like, yes. That time, I came, and I said, I'm not going back.
How old were you then?
This was 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
You
Wow.
really asked me
Oh,
May,
no. We are talking timeline, so
Yeah, this
pardon
was
me.
8 years ago.
I thought this was like, this happened, shortly after Greece or whatever the case.
No,
8 years
no.
ago.
Yeah.
Really?
So I came, and I was able to find a job and a place to stay in a matter of 2 weeks. So I knew it was meant to happen.
You're blessed.
You know what I mean?
You're really
It
blessed.
was a wonderful thing. But again, because I said I'd never acted in a play before, like maybe something like when I was very young, maybe done something. But like I said earlier, when she asked me to do the play, even though I'd never done it before, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
So what was that like? What was that first experience like?
It was very surreal because I'd never been to New York, even though I'd always wanted to come. I always wanted to be here. And it was everything I expected, and then harder than I expected, but just beautiful all around. We got to do a wonderful show, and I think we did maybe 12 shows. And so that was just a huge thing for someone who'd never really done any professional acting before to, just jump in and do 12 shows in a row. But it was wonderful. It was exhilarating, actually. But then again, I told you, I kind of always knew.
You always knew.
I didn't have any problems with it.
That's Sixth Sense, huh?
Yeah. I think you're born knowing what you can do. And either you pursue it or you don't take it seriously. You do what you're supposed to do, or you do what you were born to do.
What you were born to do.
It's a choice. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
When you got this role, right? You're green. All you have is confidence and courage.
yeah. And
Was
an
there
afro wig.
and what?
And an afro wig.
An afro. That helps, I guess. When you started this play, was there anyone that sort of mentored you or took you under their wings or give you some
Yes.
tips? Yeah, really?
Yes. Funny you should mention that. It's a wonderful gentleman who came with me tonight,
Oh,
Mr.
really?
Anthony Harper.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's the first friend I made in New York. He's been my friend ever since I've been here. I moved to the city. I didn't know anybody here, but Anthony Harper would invite me over to his house. We would meet at his house every Sunday, and we would take turns cooking. Because I'm from, Louisiana,
Yes.
and so maybe one
Hospitality,
weekend,
yeah.
right? And he has family from North Carolina, so he understands like the Southern cooking.
Yes.
And so every Sunday I go to his house, and one week I'd make maybe some jambalaya or some etouffee, and then another weekend he would make oxtails. And so it was great because while it was really exciting to be here, I think that stability, that family
Yes.
environment,
Yeah.
it helped me a lot to adjust.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. And so what was the name of the play again?
That I did?
Yes, that one. The first one.
Walter Bullitt's Binoculars. It
Wha-
was written
oh.
by Melanie Goudreau, who is also from New Orleans. That's how I
Really?
met her. We had like mutual friends.
So what was the next one?
The next thing I did, well, I started writing my own plays after that. It had to happen. It had to happen because, like, you know, I'd studied journalism and I'd studied drama, and I wanted to kind of incorporate my creative streak
Yes.
with my writing, my training in writing. And so after that, I started writing plays. And the following year, I wrote a play. In the following year, Bling. I wrote Bling, and the following year we were accepted into the Strawberry One Act Festival, and we actually made it to the semifinals in the Strawberry Festival.
So for those of us who don't know about that,
Yes.
what does it mean? What is the significance of that?
The Strawberry One Act Festival is a semi-annual event that is put together by Van Dirk Fisher. It's of the Riant Theater, and it's basically, people have called it the American Idol of theater, meaning the audience comes in and they see a series of plays,
Right.
and they vote on their favorites.
Oh.
And if they vote, if they like you, if you get enough votes, then you go to the second round. It was huge for me because that was my first play that I'd ever written, and here I was having this New York audience actually vote and like it. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like it
amazing.
enough to get us to the next round. And one of the actors in the play, Misha Gonzalez, was nominated for Best Actress throughout the whole festival. This was just my first little one-act, 18-page play. I was over the moon.
Wow.
It was great. It was directed by Jay Ward, and we had some really good actors in that. Really good actors in that.
This is amazing that you came from New Orleans, right? You got into this play, and you never acted before, and obviously you were discovered, and then Mr. Anthony Harper took you under his wings and guided you. It's amazing how things fall into place once you go on that path, right? Once you decide to follow, as you said, you know, what you're supposed to do.
If you take a step in the direction, I'm telling you, the universe will take you the rest of the way. You know, or they call it beginner's luck. But I think it is the universe kind of responding to you opening your heart to new things. And it's so funny that you mentioned Moses in your opening monologue, because I have this tattoo.
Yeah.
Can you see it? This is the burning tree
Oh.
that I got. And that is the icon, of course, of what Moses saw up on Mount Hebron when God first told him, you go and do this thing. And Moses was like, oh, I don't know, you know, I don't really talk that good, God, I'm not sure. God was like, no, you get your brother Aaron, you get him, and you two go down, and you free these people. And we know what happened.
Yes.
So that's basically, you know, kind of what my life has been about, just that one step that you take.
So I'm hearing belief, I'm hearing obedience, I'm hearing faith. Wonderful. And I imagine somebody who might have acting aspirations listening to this show tonight, wondering, well, okay, so you were lucky, or you call it beginner's luck, or you call it the universe just responding to an intention. Let's say they're outside of that, right? I mean, I would advocate what you said. That's how I roll. But let's say they're outside of that and they're, you know, going to the acting school, they're going to visiting plays and so on. What is the usual steps in getting into one of those plays? What is the norm?
Well, obviously, a lot of people, you know, take acting classes. They go to acting school, and it's hard for me to say what the norm is because I believe entirely in the unbelievable. But I will say yes, people will take acting classes.
Repeat that. I like that.
I believe only in the unbelievable, meaning you can do whatever you want. I wouldn't say don't go to acting school. There are things and technique, and don't get me wrong.
Right.
There aren't things that I haven't learned. There are things I'm still studying things
Right.
and learning from people who can teach me because there's no sense in reinventing the wheel when you do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
But yes, learn technique. You know, go to classes. You know, audition immediately. You never know. You know, you have to try your chops first. I would start auditioning before I even go to acting school. How are you going to know if it's for you? You know what I'm saying? If you want to take the traditional route, audition, get some headshots, invest in yourself first. There are people who spend like upwards of $100,000 on acting school, and they get out of school and they're waiting tables. So I wouldn't invest too much in that, because, you know, a lot of people want your money. It's really, it's a little sketchy, you know. It's people just want your money. And, you know, yes, there are a lot of good teachers, but I would say you are your own best teacher, meaning if you kind of just be real with yourself about what you want to do. Do you want to act because you want people to look at you? You know what I'm saying? Do you want people to look at you while you're on stage and be able to say stuff? Or do you really want to express something? Do you want to learn something? Do you want to contribute something? Because acting is very hard.
It's very hard.
Anything that you do wants every bit of you. Everything you do. So, yes.
Lori, you got to repeat that.
Everything you do wants every bit of you. It wants every piece of you.
Everything you do wants every bit of you.
Yes.
I love that.
It's true.
But it is true.
Oh, yeah.
It is demanding.
If you're going to do it, yeah.
Let me just go into the chat room for a second. Well, Kali says, excellent and inspiring opening message. Thank you, Selwyn. Thank you, Kali. QTP says, good night, Selwyn. Well said. Lori, your appearance and spontaneous opening looks like we are going to have a great evening. Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
And Kali says, Lori, your energy is infectious. Thank you. I admire your courage in believing in the unbelievable.
Thank you.
How does your inner voice speak to you? How does your inner voice speak to you?
There are no words.
There are no words.
I guess speak, communicate, voice. I just know.
I'll tell you what. Because I know you got it. I can see it in you. Could we come back to that later on? I mean, because I think it's gonna come to you and you'll be able to speak on it.
All right.
So that's a nice question. I love it. So let's go on. It is, how does your inner voice speak to you? I have to remember that. Great quotes. Everything you do wants every bit of you. Fantastic. I'm telling you, I love that. Everything you do wants every bit of you. The flip side to that coin is when whatever your mind find it to do it with all your might. I like that. Cedric V. Great insight, Lori. I love your attitude and eloquence, homegirl.
Hola, thank you.
Let's take a short break.
Okay.
And then, you come back.
And lending industry since 1994. With years of experience as an investment advisor and financial advisor, Ray has provided hundreds of clients with investment advice and underwriting personal loans and mortgages. With several $100 million of mortgages funded since 1999, Ray's knowledge and experience allows him to advise clients on all types of mortgage transactions. Whether you're purchasing your first home or looking to purchase a rental or investment property, Ray can help you manage the process from first meeting to getting the keys. For mortgages made simple, contact Ray C. McMillan. Mortgages offered under license through Home Mortgage Consultants, Inc., Ontario License 10512. An accredited mortgage professional, Ray C. McMillan has been involved in the investment, banking, and lending industry since 1994. With years of experience.
This is a man's world. This is a man's world. But it wouldn't mean nothing, nothing without a woman or a girl. You see, man made the cars to take us over the road. Man carry the heavy load. Man made the electric light to take us out of the dark. Man made the boat for the water like no one made the earth. This is a man's world, but it wouldn't mean nothing without a woman or a girl.
We are back. For those of you who are now joining us, this is Selwyn Collins on CWS Conversations with Selwyn. I have as my guest this evening Lori Payne.
Payne.
Thank you. Lori, during the break, I was looking at some of the information here that you sent to me. I mean, it's a long list, and I'm not good at memorizing things. But one of the things that comes to mind is in 2003, you participated in the University of New Orleans production, Eve Ensler's The Vagina Monologues.
Yes.
And performing My Angry Vagina. Could you like to elaborate a little bit on that, or tell us a little bit?
Well, The Vagina Monologues is a body of work compiled by Eve Ensler, who is, she's an activist for women's rights.
Okay.
And she basically spent a few years interviewing women and talking with them about their vagina. This is basically to kind of take the shame away, to open up a dialogue about experiences that women have had, different beliefs and values that they have about it. She put the interviews together in a single work called The Vagina Monologues. And there are several. I think there are over 20 monologues. And every year on V-Day, which is, it's on Valentine's Day, there are productions around the world of the Vagina Monologues. So my particular monologue, My Angry Vagina, was about basically the uncomfortable aspects that women go through. Mainly, it's a very humorous monologue, actually. It was one of the funnier ones, and the delivery, I got a lot of laughs. It was fun. But what was interesting about that is, Louisiana, this was done at the University of New Orleans. And Louisiana is a red state, if you will, mainly Republican, very conservative. And the opening night of the show, we had people picketing the show. They were outside of the theater with signs,
Really?
which to me is always a good sign.
Yeah.
That means you got people interested, you got people talking. So it was it was a brush with art and controversy for me. It was very interesting. Yeah.
From the term vagina monologues, connotes many different things, many different interpretations for both men and women. But I believe that some I've heard some in places that populate a lot by men, the gym and so on. But interestingly enough, I'm curious. What you think was her real intention, or her intention? What is the message with this whole vagina monologue thing?
Yeah.
To men, to women specifically.
Well, I could guess, and there's been a lot of writing about Eve, and she's done a lot of interviews about why she did it. This kind of falls, and for her, it falls in a long line of things that she's done in terms of activism as well as creativity regarding women's rights and women's sexuality. And I couldn't say exactly why she did it,
Right.
but I think for me, it was a way to open up the conversation about women and their sexuality. There is a lot of shame involved. There's violence at times. One of the monologues actually talks about a woman in a burqa who, wears this kind of heavy black material, in the hot desert.
Right.
And so it talks about that. And there's one by, a little girl. And basically just women kind of being open about it and not being basically ashamed of, of their sexuality and who they are. It celebrates the capacity of the vagina to give life. That's where children live. A lot of times popular culture and society, they kind of degrade that sort of thing and, make it bad or take any woman who is sexual and say that something is wrong with her or that she's less than a person. But, if there were no sexuality, there would be no babies.
That's true.
So, it's kind of a way for us to raise awareness and then for us to celebrate ourselves and also to kind of, have a little fun and get together and talk.
Interesting.
That's what
concept.
it was for me anyway.
Yeah. What are some of the feedbacks you got from women who have seen you perform and so on? What are some of the positive feedbacks you've got?
So do you mean that particular show or just in general?
Well, that show, and then you can give me two from that show and
They
two in
loved
general.
it.
They loved it.
They loved it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That is important.
Well, and the thing is, oftentimes it's, again, the way you interpret something.
Right.
And I suppose that maybe if someone else had read it, they might have gone more with the angry side. But I approached it in a humorous way. I delivered it in a humorous way, meaning I took it seriously, but I think, and that's one of the things that I generally do anyway. I try to find the humor in life because life is funny.
Yes.
Even when people are at their lowest, they're at their highest, they're at their angriest, they're the most confused they've ever been, they're sad or whatever, they're funny. When people are honest, they're funny.
They're funny.
People, it's something that I've observed, and that's something that I basically carry through everything I do.
I like that because basically what I do believe that everything really depends on interpretation. You probably will not get angry with a situation if you didn't interpret it a certain way.
And then you'll say funny stuff.
Yeah.
I've done it myself. I've tried to get things out, and like something weird came out of my mouth, and it made no sense. And I look back afterward, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. That was so funny. I can look back afterward and really laugh at it. And then it kind of goes to me not really taking myself that seriously.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't mean to say it, I listened to your opening monologue, and I know that there are a lot of people suffering everywhere all the time. And I never forget that. But in terms of me and what I'm going through, I just you just have to laugh and find the humor in it. And
But
keep
pain
going.
in itself demands anesthesia. It demands that.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to give it whatever form of anesthetic we have, whether it's humor, whether it's going into the scripture, whether it's meditation, whatever it is. But pain can do that to you. And sometimes that's the purpose of the pain anyway.
Maybe.
So, exactly. So I just want to read this thing in the statement here. QTP says, I think you were created for what you're doing. You seem so natural and comfortable while interacting. I'm impressed. You are definitely holding my attention. Have you ever thought of mentoring?
Well, I guess I kind of do. Well, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I'm very aware and very conscious of the example that I set for her. And actually, I had been, kind of thinking about that, even going as far as to maybe perhaps see about getting a foster child, but maybe mentoring, maybe on a larger scale.
Yeah.
That would be something to do, with young people. That's what we need, the children.
That'd be great, yes.
Yeah.
Our future. And Callie says, I love the vagina monologues, an amazing celebration of womanhood. Laurie, did you choose your part? What drew you to it?
I read for it. I picked it. I thought it was funny when I read it. And I went into the audition, and I made the director laugh. So
That's a good thing.
It worked out, yeah. It's one of those things, and this kind of goes back to the question asked about, the woman asked earlier, how do you listen to your inner voice? How does it speak to you? You just know. I guess I haven't broken it down, but when I read that, I'm like, no, that's it. And then, I hate to say it like this, but it was white people putting the production on, and they
Right.
always try to make the black woman the angry black woman anyway.
Right.
So they kind of slipped it to me, but I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I did it, and it worked out. I didn't feel, typecast at all.
That's good.
Yeah.
Talking about that, one of the things I like to do on this show, because I'm a great advocate of the flow. I am very obedient to the flow. And the flow said, you just mentioned, the director or the white folks, they bring something and you weren't typecast anyway and so on. Have you had roles that, they were promising in the sense that it can really take your career to the next level and also financially, but you said, no, I just can't do this. Have you ever had a situation like that?
You know what? I'm at the point right now. Um, I will turn a project down if it sounds funny at the outset.
Yeah.
I don't even care what the role is. To me, because the role is very important.
Uh-huh.
But by the time you see the actors on stage, everything has already happened. The rehearsals have happened. All the negotiations are done. The production is done. You're seeing the finished product.
Okay.
So I'm going rewinding back even before that. If I get this weird thing, if it seems like the producer can't get it together, or the director is unsure, or if things don't seem to be run well at the outset,
Uh-huh.
I don't care what the role is. I'm not doing it. I'm too old for that.
Okay.
I can't deal with that.
I got it.
And I don't play slaves. I sure don't.
Okay. I hear that. All right. 2004, right? I kind of like pull away from the mic there for a moment. 2004. Well, you said this before. You moved to New York and studied playwriting, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I want to move forward to 2009. Media coordinator for the Langston Hughes Cultural Enrichment Movement.
Yes,
What was that
yes.
about?
That's a wonderful organization. The executive and the artistic director is Anthony Adiagbo Thompson, who is an actor and experienced theater director in his own right. He began, after working years in theater, he began taking The Simple Tales, which is a series of short stories written by Langston Hughes.
Uh-huh.
Some of it is poetry, some of it is, short essays, and he dramatizes them. And they're very entertaining. They're very compelling. If you know about Langston Hughes, his writing was basically about the common man, which is what I love.
Yeah.
And Simple is a fictitious character that Langston Hughes created, and it basically follows him through his life, through his journeys living in Harlem, the things that he comes across, the situations, and also how he reflects on life. And Anthony Thompson took those and dramatized them. And he's just an amazing actor. He really brings it to life. So he travels around and he did shows. He's one of those people, one of those artists that really believe in giving back to the community. So he'll do shows at like at the retirement home for free. Just come. You know what I'm saying? He did that for a while. He'll do stuff in libraries. And I really believed in what he was doing, especially the historical context, the literary value, the dramatic value of what he was doing. I've worked with them to basically get them kind of on the map digitally on the internet. So I did press releases for them. I set up their website and things like that, and also did some producing for the shows as well, some production as well for the shows. It was a great experience. He works with an artist who does arts installations based on icons that are inspired by the Simple Tales, and Ronaldo Davidson works in oil pastels, and they kind of combine the acting and the art together. And they take the show around to different places around the city or around the country where they go.
Is there a place, a website, or somewhere where people can find out where's the next venue or something?
Yeah, absolutely. The Langston Hughes Cultural Enrichment Movement. There's a Facebook page, and there's also a website, www.hughesculturalenrichment.com.
Hughesculturalenrichment.com.
Yes.
Thank you.
They're around and they do amazing stuff. And actually, Anthony just finished he just finished doing a festival over in Brooklyn not long ago. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, so he's always around doing Simple. Everybody loves Simple.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then, I'm almost to the end of the page, and I think I cheated your timeline a little. Obviously from the chat room, the audience loves you, and you're such a vibrant and electrifying person. I want to go back to some things I'm seeing here with the American Theater of Harlem, ulterior side dishes at the New Rican Poets Cafe, Catherine Street, ulterior side dishes. You mentioned this before, right? Ulterior side dishes.
Yeah, that's my trilogy of one-act plays.
Okay. So what is? Okay, so that's okay. I got you here. And mother tongue monologues.
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah, that is actually a spin-off of the Vagina Monologues. It's a monthly benefit production that is produced by Black Women's Blueprint. I'm a member of that organization, and they actually take, instead of vagina monologues, they take basically works written by and about Black women, and they have people come on stage and read those works dramatically. It was very fun. The first year, they did speeches by people like Shirley Chisholm, Ida B. Wells, Fannie Lou Hamer, and you come out and you do the monologue, and it's really electrifying.
That's a brilliant idea.
That's what I said. It's brilliant. So they do it every year. It's a benefit. It's a fundraiser. And the first year I participated as an actor, and I just thought it was so wonderful. I did one of Ida B. Wells' speeches. And the following year, actually, this year was the second year that we did it. And this was, I actually directed it the second year. We were at the National Black Theater up in Harlem. We did it back in February. And it was just amazing. It was really amazing.
Wow.
It really was.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that organization, it's blackwomensblueprint.com. They also have a Facebook page, and they do great work. They deal with sexually abused women in the community. They do counseling. They do programs that raise awareness. And they do, they actually just opened a spot down on Empire Boulevard in Brooklyn.
Really?
And yeah, the organization is really growing, and they're a great source of information. They're a great source of information about women and different issues.
What is the name of that website again?
Blackwomensblueprint.org.
Black Women Blueprint.
Blackwomensblueprint.org.
Oh, Women's Blueprint. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Blackwomensblueprint.org.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And Empire Boulevard. It's on Empire Boulevard.
It's on Empire Boulevard. Yeah.
So they have one in Harlem as well, or
No, it's they have that one office that which they just opened, and
Okay.
It's a really great space, and the office is open for counseling or anything like that. The executive director is Farah Tanis, and she's just an amazing person. The Mother Tongue Monologues was her concept. She actually worked with Eve Ensler, doing her work as well. So this was just a wonderful thing to do.
This is a
It's great
brilliant
to be
idea.
a part of.
This is
It
a
was.
brilliant idea.
You've got to see it. It's amazing.
Educating through drama.
Yes.
You know, I love that. I love that concept.
That's what I say. You know, Selwyn, it's like, I don't believe that art exists in a vacuum.
Right.
I think that if you have the power to communicate with people, let's say something. Not everyone wants to escape their terrible lives.
True.
I mean, there's, other forms of entertainment if you want to do that. And I've had this argument with different people and different playwrights over and over again, and we always come to the same thing. I'm like, man, I can't be in my house painting a portrait and like the police dogs outside my window, like chasing people down. I've got to use what I know and what I can do to affect people. To speak to people, to say something that they need to hear. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that message. Wow, that's powerful.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do as an artist? Seriously, what do you? Why did you write it? If you're not gonna, if you can honestly look, and I'm speaking as a Black person in America. This is no joke, and I don't say this a lot, but there's no way I'm gonna miss an opportunity to speak to my people and say what I need to communicate to them. There's no way I'm going to miss that opportunity. I don't care what I do. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah.
How very important is that?
And it's not even necessarily, I don't have to do a play about Malcolm X all the time.
Right.
I'm saying just like the characters that I write, the people that I create, the situations, it's going to be about something, because a lot of communication in theater is subliminal.
Yes.
So, you can't like break out a history book and like just make the play about, some awesome historic person. You get a message across with the people that you create, the stories that you tell. It's not what's said, maybe it's what's not said. It's the conclusions that you leave people to draw, or just something that they leave the theater with ringing in their head. Or even if it's a spiritual communication. When people leave, are they buoyant? Are they joyous? How are they? Have you touched them? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Someone asks, DSA GCCB asks, what's Lori's active web address?
Like my website?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have one.
Lori?
I'm on Facebook.
Oh.
LoriPayne.webs.com. It's under construction.
Okay.
I've been doing stuff for other people for years, and I have not done my own. And For that, I apologize.
Just like the plumber and his plumbing.
Oh my God. Or you go to the salon and like the hairstylist, she's got her hair back in a ponytail. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, people are asking. So you're on Facebook and okay. So let's take a short break, Laurie.
Okay.
All right.
I'll do a website during the break.
Experience as an investment advisor and financial advisor, Ray has provided hundreds of clients with investment advice and underwriting personal loans and mortgages. With several $100 million of mortgages funded since 1999, Ray's knowledge and experience allows him to advise clients on all types of mortgage transactions. Whether you're purchasing your first home or looking to purchase a rental or investment property, Ray can help you manage the process from first meeting to getting the keys. For mortgages made simple, contact Ray C. McMillan. Mortgages offered under license through Home Mortgage Consultants, Inc., Ontario License 10512. An accredited mortgage professional, Ray C. McMillan has been involved in the investment, banking, and lending industry since 1994. With years of experience as an
Lick one shot, lick another shot, lick two shot for the people them now. Bust one shot, bust another shot, bust two shot for the people them now. Jubilee me born, Kingston grew up in a trench town, Rose Lane, Pink Lane, Alman Town, or me live a concrete jungle trench town. Police run me brethren a stand live a Bender's Lane, Donovan live a Tivoli Garden, George live a girl in straight. Bigger food live up a Anatown. Superstar. Beside the STB bakery, a boy shoot him brother down. And him got on police. You wanna par with me, move away from me, watch it. Before me bust me automatic. Back up. I'm warning you, I'm disarming you, you idiot. I'm about to shoot in your old time coat. Riking, mighty Viking, Bangla, Zulu. I don't know you, me a Bandu. Lick one shot, lick another shot, lick two shot for the people them now. Bust one shot, bust another shot, bust two shot for the people them now. Lick one shot, lick another shot, lick two shot for the people them now. Bust one shot, bust another shot, bust two shot for the people them now. How we are doing? How we are shot? How we are doing? Ya fool. Used to go a shed to hold a passport. Then me go down a senior school. Me brethren hardly go. And then I'm town, Richie go a answer.
Man thinks about a little baby girl and a baby boy. Man makes him happy, 'cause man makes him toys. And after man has made everything he can, from another man. This is a man's world, but it wouldn't mean nothing, not one little thing, without a woman or a girl. No, no. The world would mean nothing without a woman. Woman or a girl. Oh yeah. This is a man's world. Oh, it's a man's world. But it couldn't mean nothing, nothing without a woman or a girl.
We're back, and for those of you who are now joining, I'm Selwyn Collins of CWS, and I'm really enjoying this interview with Laurie Payne. Well, here is a question or statement in the chat room. QTP says, Laurie, since you have us all speechless tonight with your eloquence and addicting body language, tell us something about your newest stage play, Thirst, even though it's in its embryonic stage. QTP, you've just preempted my next question, but since we are obedient to the flow, fine, let's go.
Yeah.
Tell us about Thirst.
Okay, QDP, thank you for asking. Thirst is a 2-act drama, and it is basically about a woman who takes on a crusade that she believes is divine, but at the same time she's battling alcoholism. And it kind of follows her through the steps, and it explores how her actions affect the people around her. Leni, so I'll tell you, Leni she leaves the bar one night. She's had several drinks, and she finds an abandoned baby at a bus stop. Child is dead, and she decides that she's going to pay for the burial. Of course, she doesn't have any money, and so she sells all the furniture out of her house to pay for the burial. Yeah. In the meantime, she hadn't bought any of it. Her daughter pays for all of it, and it's a painful thing for her daughter to watch her do that. And so her daughter actually considers getting her committed to the psychiatric ward. And she doesn't want to.
The daughter doesn't want to.
Yeah, she doesn't want to. She loves her mother. It's very, very difficult. And it explores that as well. As well as, Leni Bloomer, who is the protagonist, the woman who has set out to do this thing, it kind of explores her relationships with the people around her. And you have to find out whether or not she actually comes to terms with reality. Because the play is basically about something that you talked about before, our interpretation of reality. How do we see things? This woman is seeing this thing as this, she's been, instructed by God to do this thing. And her daughter's like, well, what are you talking about? This is our furniture.
Right.
We can't afford to buy any more furniture. She's dealing with some really hard facts. You know what I mean? They don't even have butter for their grits. But she wants to sell the furniture out of the house to do this thing that no one has seen her do. No one can corroborate the story that she's telling. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's kind of about that. It's definitely about that.
So this I guess the need to bury this child, or the burial of this child, is in her mind, in her world, of paramount importance.
It's this thing that she will do.
Right.
And the play is called Thirst. It's this one thing that she can do to redeem herself in the eyes of God and in the eyes of society. This is why she has to do it at the expense of everything. She feels like if she does this, it will fix everything else. And, and what's so ironic is that she's tearing everything else, tearing up everything that she actually has to do this thing that's supposed to fix everything. This is the reality that her daughter is trying to make her understand. And therein lies the conflict, the central conflict of that story.
Right.
Yeah.
But this has me present to something which I want to ask you. So I'm figuring out a way to put it in a proper question,
Okay.
and that is making, from what I hear about this woman, making the ultimate sacrifice or ignoring consequences to make sure that she achieve her goal. Sitting here listening to you, I mean, I'm honored. It's actually a privilege to have you here.
Oh.
But I am inspired, right? And I am supported by others in the chat room, obviously. But I'm inspired by you, and I get the sense that when you are after something, whether it's a role or whatever it is in your life, you leave no stone unturned. You go after it with passion, with dedication, with commitment, absolute commitment. Am I correct in this presumption, or is that who you are?
I am a very pragmatic, and I'm like I don't want. Okay, I'm like an animal. It's like if I sink my teeth into something, I'm not letting go. And when I taste blood, it's over. You know what I mean?
Ooh. Teeth
I hate to
and
say it
blood.
like that. but seriously. But here's the rub with that. This
Yeah.
is the truth. I'm a Virgo, and sometimes we can be indecisive.
Uh-huh.
And my biggest issue, once I decide to do something, baby, it's done. Don't even worry about it. But my biggest thing has been deciding what needs to be done in terms of, well, what do I want? What do I want to do? Which direction do I want to go? That has been something that I am still actively working on.
Okay.
It's not that I'm not like floating without a sail.
Right.
Like I said before, I'll take the opportunities as they come along, and I know what I need to do to keep myself together. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But in terms of certain things, I need an idea person. I am the practical person. I will get it done.
Right.
But I like to work with someone, an idea person, like an Aquarian, because they always have ideas. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the Virgo. Okay, what do you want to do? I'll lay out a plan, and it will work. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I work.
No woman, know thyself.
Yeah, seriously.
Wow. Kali, the chat room asks, what do you do to prepare for such a role as in Thirst?
I work out. I'm not in the best shape, but I've found that, whether acting or writing or directing, it's so important to get your physical stamina up.
I agree with
You
that.
get your blood flowing, ideas will pop into your head.
I agree with that.
If before I go on stage, if I'm doing a show, backstage before the show, I'm doing push-ups, literally push-ups, jumping jacks, more push-ups, squats, because I think with my entire body. First of all, I don't just think with my brain. I think with my entire body. I feel like the body is the brain. Okay, I know. All right.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just like, I like this.
It's true. So I make sure that my body is in tune, that my entire body is awake, and that my body is in the moment. My entire body is in the moment. So that's how I prepare basically for everything. And I meditate and I pray.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah,
And then I wait for the voices.
You wait for the voices. Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. Rose says, Rose asks, what or who influenced the theme in Thirst?
Well, I will say, there's two answers to that question. The main character is based on a woman that I know.
Okay.
A woman who I love and have great respect for. So it's based on her. It's not entirely her, but she is who I constructed Leanie Bloomer around. The story is actually based on, I was getting on the train one day. I lived in Brooklyn when I first moved here. I had to take the train into the city, So I get on the train one day and I sit down and there's like a copy of AM New York sitting on the seat next to me. And I pick it up. Like, oh, at that point, I didn't realize how unsanitary it was to do that. But if I would just sit on the train, I would just pick up the newspaper and start reading it. I don't know who left it there, what's in it. Anyway, and so I read the story, and so when the story was about this woman who was based in California. She found an abandoned fetus herself, but she spent all of her money to pay for it, but she started a foundation to pay for the burial of abandoned fetuses in California. And she did this for years, and she started getting donations that kind of kept her foundation afloat. But get this, 2 years after she started it, she won the lottery for $9 million.
Is that so?
Can you imagine?
Wow.
I feel like this is the spirit of all of those little babies that she helped, just kind of saying, okay, you know what I'm saying? And kind of bringing that energy to her.
Very symbolic too.
Oh, isn't it?
How much did she win?
$9 million. Isn't that such an amazing story?
And how many months for a fetus to be born?
I know. I know.
Yeah, I like to go there sometimes.
You can't make that stuff up.
Yeah, you can't.
know?
Yeah.
But it was just such an interesting, I think it was just a really interesting and really selfless thing for a person to do. And I just couldn't let go of that premise. I said, how can I make this dramatic? And this is such a great story to tell. So it wasn't completely my idea, but my telling of that situation is quite different than the way things turned out for her. Yeah, yeah.
QTP says, laugh out loud. You look definitely like a high adrenaline person once you get in the moment, just on the lighter side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. This is
Let's
all
get
good.
it.
You know, I want to go back to your bio here, and your directing or directorial credits. Evening Gloves by Helen Hill.
Yes.
What was that about?
That was a one-act play about a woman who had taken up residence in a storage space.
Huh.
Somehow she had gotten in and she found one that was large enough and it had chairs and a couch and all these awesome expensive things.
Uh-huh.
And she basically took up residence there.
Huh. Okay.
And the story is about her being found by the owner of the place. And, you know, he initially wants them to leave, but then once he finds out why she's there, he feels very sorry for her. What happened was she was sending her daughter to school one day, and her little girl was like, "Mama, my stomach hurt." You know how kids can be. Oh, you just saying that because you don't want to go to school. So she sends her out the door, and the little girl appendix burst, and she died. And so she withdrew from the world. And the play is kind of about her being there and slowly but surely kind of coming out of her shell because no one knew why she was there until, the inciting action was her being found there. And she kind of had to tell her story. You know, in drama, everything is connected.
Yeah.
And this is what I'll say to playwrights who are out there. When you're writing a play, don't just have somebody say something because it needs to be said. People have to be forced to reveal themselves. That's what the drama is about, the removing of the mask.
The removing of the masks.
That's what makes it. People have to be forced. It's just like a confession. You know, people are questioning you. The cops are like putting the force on this person, and finally they say it because they have to say it. And so a part of the drama, of course, is several elements, but what's important is that when people tell things, make sure that they have been forced to say that because that's where the drama is, that conflict. And so that's what it was. That was that particular conflict for Evening Gloves.
I like that concept, removing of the mask. And you know, we all at some point wear masks, sometimes to our own detriment. You know, sometimes it precludes us from achieving a particular goal because this mask, you know, embodies us and tells us that we are this thing, and so we can't do this or we can't do that, and it places limitations on what, you know,
People
what
put a
is
mask
available
on
to
their
us.
own soul. You
Yes.
put a mask on your own soul because you can't bear to look at it. Why are you here?
Why are you here? I like that. Catherine Street by Laurie Payne. Catherine Street. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, that was a story about a family, and it was basically about a secret that the daughter was keeping from the mother, and then the secret was that, you know, she was pregnant. But the story is basically about what led up to that, that her revealing the story. She had a boyfriend who wanted to marry her, but she didn't want to marry the boyfriend. And it was basically about them just kind of coming together as a family and being forced to say, okay, this is our story. You know, this is who we are. We're going to have to live together and do this thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That one, I was very fortunate to work with Erica Myers, Karen Page, and Stephen Bennett. That was my cast. Oh, and Glenn was also in that. Wasn't Glenn in that? Yes, he did an awesome job. That was at Manhattan Repertory Theater as part of their Summer Theater Fest, and I actually got the drama editor from the Village Voice to come and see that, and he liked it, which is cool.
Congrats.
You know, it was fun. It was fun, and it was a challenge for me because, you know, I've written plays. I've written 9 plays since I've been here, but they're not all great.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Every project, everything I direct, it's not all wonderful. I look at everything as an opportunity to learn and to get better. So while I'm not, again, I'm thankful for everything because I got to do it. And my goal every time I do it is to get better. I happened to run into Melvin Van Peebles, who is the author of Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. several Broadway plays. And I happened to run into him. Anthony and I were out one night, and we sat and talked. It was just an amazing serendipitous thing that happens when you're in New York.
Yeah.
We were talking, and I was in the middle of directing Stop the Bleeding over at American Theater of Actors. And I was having some trouble with one of the actors. We went through rehearsal, got through the whole thing. The show opened, the lights came up. She lost her crap. She forgot her lines. She froze. It was terrible.
Whoa.
Selwyn, I wanted to go out there and like move her arms for her. She was that lost. It was terrible. I'm directing this thing. People are looking at me like, Lord, what did you do? You know what I mean?
What do you do?
What do you do? Well, you grin and bear it. You wait till the show is over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You say, okay, thank you. And then you leave and you go have a shot of rum. You try to think about it. That particular night, we were walking, and Melvin Van Peebles happened to come out, and he saw us on the sidewalk. I guess he liked the looks of us. He was like, hey, how y'all doing? We were like, oh, my God, it's Melvin Van Peebles. So he said, hey, do you guys want to go for a drink? We were like, yes. So we went. And, of course, I'm not going to waste the opportunity to talk with Melvin Van Peebles. I explained to him what my situation was with this girl. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this girl. I've talked to her. We've gone through rehearsal. She can't seem to get it together. What do I do? He told me what to do as a director. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm assuming this is a clean show. I'm not going to say exactly what he said.
Right.
But one of the things he said to me that night was, don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. He said, because he's old school. He's been doing it like 40, 50 years. He said to me, he said, I fought so that you could get here so that you can have the opportunity to do what you're doing. You're not in this to feed your ego. You're not in this just to have something to do. You are in this to win. You're doing it to win. And that's all you're doing. So whatever you got to tell her to get her to do what she's supposed to do, that's what you do. We're not playing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was real. It was very real.
You're in here to win.
You're doing it to win. We're not here to amuse ourselves. We don't have that luxury. You know what I mean? Oh, he got me.
Oh, I like that.
He did.
Oh, yes. I like
got
that.
me.
Ro in the chat room asks, which gives you more satisfaction, writing, directing, or acting?
Writing.
Writing.
That's an easy one, and I hate to say it. I love them all for different reasons, but to be able to create the story, I write to learn about myself and to learn about the world, and so to watch it all come together, it is riveting. This story, and everything is not inside of me. Right. I believe that creativity is something that's all around us, and you tap into it. These people, these characters, I believe that they already exist. If you open up your heart, if you open up your soul, they'll talk to you.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I've experienced that.
Right? And it's not like that corny, scary stuff you see in the movies or whatever. I believe in the spirit world. Yeah. And so these people are here. And I'm not saying I'm writing about spirits, but I believe that the characters are here. And if you lay them out and you let them talk, they'll talk to you. And the process of watching it unfold and hearing what they have to say, it's amazing to me. It's my absolute favorite part.
So it's important to just be and let them do the talking and you listen. Wonderful. There's another show here, Black Pete on the Eve of Emancipation.
Oh yes, Black Pete on the Eve of Emancipation. Yes, I wrote that play. It was a commission work for the Wyckoff Farmhouse Museum over in Brooklyn, New York. Right. Shirley Brown Aileen, who was the educational director at the time, and Byron Saunders, who was the executive director. I'd met them on different occasions. I'd done some projects with them, and they were doing a Juneteenth festival, and they asked me to write a play that they could present as part of the festival. Now, the festival was like a bunch of different activities because the Wyckoff Farmhouse Museum is an actual farm, and so kids go and they pick the vegetables and they do, stuff, and there's like a kettle corn thing, like all these down-home little tactile homemade stuff the kids do. Black Pete on the Eve of Emancipation takes place on Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865. It is set in the woods outside of Galveston, Texas. And Galveston, Texas is the place where Juneteenth took place. The captured people in Galveston, Texas were the absolute last ones to hear about the Emancipation Proclamation, which had been signed by Abraham Lincoln years before. You know what I'm saying? They didn't tell those people. You know what I'm saying? Wow. The plantation owners just kept that, and nobody couldn't read, and there was no radio, so they didn't know. Not to mention, manumission had been happening in New York for 50 years. That means people were, captured people were gaining their freedom once they reached a certain age. So that had been signed in New York literally 50 years before Juneteenth. So the play takes place right outside of Galveston, Texas. It's the day it's happening. The soldiers are coming because those plantation owners, they weren't giving up their free labor without a fight.
Exactly.
They literally had to send soldiers down there to get people out. And so it's 3 characters in that play, and they represent 3 perspective states of consciousness or mental positions or political positions. There's one guy, his name is Weaver. He works in the stables, and he's fine with working in the stables. He works with horses. He loves horses. He's fine with that. Another character is Lil Morning. Lil Morning is ready to go. She's heard about New York from Black Pete. Black Pete has told her all about the fabulous things that's going on up in New York. She wants to come to New York. She wants to start her own business. She wants that. Because that was going on at that time. They didn't know. And then there's Black Pete, who has read all about New York. He knows all about the Emancipation Proclamation, and he wants none of it. He says that, if you read the Emancipation Proclamation, it don't make no sense. It doesn't say, he was like, yeah, they'll let you out. But when you get off this plantation, do you think they have a plantation waiting for you? No. They don't. What are you going to do? How you really think you're going to be free here? What's going to happen to you? You know what I mean? So he is like, let's get out of here. Let's leave the country. At that time, Haiti was kind of occupied, but it wasn't completely occupied. He was like, look, there's a boat leaving for Haiti tonight. Let's go to Haiti. We can start ourselves. We can plant our own food. We can build our own towns. We can love each other as human beings. We can meet God face to face on our own terms. The Morning didn't want to go. She wanted to go to New York. She wanted these things that she had seen. And Pete was thinking on a whole other level. So the play is basically about those 3 ways of thinking, those 3 people. You know what I mean? And it ended. I can't tell you how it ended.
Right.
Because I want you to come and see it when we do it again. But that was done about that.
What an amazing dichotomy in that drama, that at one point it was escape to Haiti, and then there's escape from Haiti.
Oh, God. I was reading about the cholera epidemic that's
Really
going
sad.
on.
Really sad. But, that was another show. Let's take a short break, and then...
Investment advisor and financial advisor, Ray has provided hundreds of clients with investment advice and underwriting personal loans and mortgages. With several $100 million of mortgages funded since 1999, Ray's knowledge and experience allows him to advise clients on all types of mortgage transactions. Whether you're purchasing your first home or looking to purchase a rental or investment property, Ray can help you manage the process from first meeting to getting the keys. For mortgages made simple, contact Ray C. McMillan. Mortgages offered under license through Home Mortgage Consultants, Inc., Ontario License 10512. An accredited mortgage professional, Ray C. McMillan has been involved in the investment, banking, and lending industry.
We are back. I'm Selwyn Collins on CWS, and I'm really enjoying Lori Payne. This is wonderful. I want to go to the chat room, and there is, Kali says, great Lori, another great Lori quote. Creativity is all around us. You just have to tap into it.
True.
That is very true. Very, very true. And then Barbara says, what amazing energy and so connected to the spirit, enjoying every second.
Hey, Barbara.
QDP says, wow, your plays seem to have some very interesting stories. Will definitely draw the audience. I'm enthused. Have you yet made DVD of these plays? If so, are they on sale and where?
No.
No.
Oh my God, I've got to get on this. I've got to get on this.
You have an audience that's engaged. And so, yes, take advantage of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Talking about energy and what you do before you go on stage. I remember seeing the Christmas weekend directed by Nigel.
Yes.
And you were full. You were a ball of energy. Did you do that backstage before you come on the stage? Were you exercising?
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. We would be backstage, and there were stairs back there, and you know, Mummy was a ball of energy. You had to get your energy up.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And you know, it was so much fun to play her because you could kind of let loose. It's nice to just be able to let loose and have fun that way. You know, with the people and. Preparing for her, I just kind of honestly, and I tapped into my own nurturing spirit as well.
Okay.
You know, as a mom, I probably not that high of energy as Mummy, but you know, as a parent, you know, you do care about your kids, and you know, you want to make sure they're all right, and you like cooking for them and making sure they're happy. You know, so I tapped in a little bit of my own thing, but then I tapped into also some of my aunts as well to be her. Because some people are like that. Yeah. When she turned around and she's like, "You want to go with your brother to the store?" That I can hear my aunt saying that. You know what I mean? Just you know the way she dealt with people. So I didn't have to pull that out of thin air. I know that lady. Oh. Yeah.
So some of your what comes to mind? I'm thinking about New Orleans, where you're from, right? I understand in some of these plays. You know, you're called upon to express different kinds of emotions, some anger, some tears, sadness, and all these things. Katrina, can't talk of New Orleans and not think about Katrina when that happened. Very devastating, very painful at times. Have you ever called upon any of that experience? Well, first of all, were you there at all during that time?
I moved to New York almost a year to the day that Katrina hit the southeastern coast of Louisiana. Almost a year to the day, and every chance I get, I toast to higher ground. You know what I mean? Wow. Because like we were saying before, she asked like, how do you hear your voice? Yeah. I don't know. But when I got that opportunity, I left because I lived right there in the Lower Garden District. And the house where I live, ruined. I mean, they've since rebuilt it. Right. You know what I'm saying? But all gone. It was all gone. My father actually lived in the Lower Ninth Ward. where they had the flooding up to the roof of the house. And he was one of the people who didn't leave. He was stuck there. He was one of those people who was stuck on their roof. His name is Ernest Payne Jr. He is my icon, my greatest representative of survival that I've ever known in real life. He was one of those people who he had to climb, the water rose in his house. He had to go into his own attic and break through the roof and sit on the roof and wait for the National Guard to come by in a boat. He was one of those people who was stuck. And he got out and he went into the drugstore that had been flooded. He was basically looking for food and like cigarettes.
Right.
Of course, everything was gone, but what he did find was a composition notebook and some pens. He began writing his experience down.
Oh, really?
As it was happening, like a diary. It's crazy. And when it was all over, honestly, I thought he was dead. I couldn't find him. I didn't know where he was. I checked all the Red Cross websites. No one had heard from him. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to presume he's dead, but I kind of think he might be. But luckily, my aunt reached out to me and be like, oh, your dad is with us. Great. Right?
Wonderful.
And so, I saw him, and the first thing he did when I saw him afterward was he gave me his book, written in his own hand, the original copy. And so I was fortunate to be able to read directly from my father's memoirs on the anniversary of Katrina, and Selwyn, you're not going to believe me, Katrina hit on my birthday, August 29th. I was actually able to read on the anniversary of Katrina, which is also my birthday, the memoirs from my father's experience in the flood following Katrina.
What a gift.
My good friend Dred Scott Keys had a show at WBAI called The Cutting Edge, and I was able to read from that, and he broadcast it on the anniversary of Katrina. So while I wasn't there, I kind of was. My family is there. My spirit is there. It's real.
I'm gonna go out on a limb since we're talking about Katrina, or go out on a ledge. Next time you come back to CWS, I would like you to read one of those, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
That would be a treat. And talking about treat, the show, we're almost to closing, and I would love to ask you. I'm sure the audience would love to hear you give us some words of wisdom to close the show. You've dropped some wonderful pearls of wisdom and pearls and insights during our conversation. So, if you don't mind, would you please give us some words of wisdom?
If you think you can do better, you can. If you think you can't do better, you can't. Don't let anybody get out of your own way. Do not stand in your own way. Don't overthink it. Just do it. As a matter of fact, don't even think about it. Just do it.
Just do it.
And let it happen, because the universe don't revolve around what you think about. The universe works. Just do it.
Just do it. And you have lots of examples of how the universe works in that case.
Yes.
Don't think too much about it.
And that's something I'm speaking to myself at that point as well. I'm a Virgo. Again, I tend to overanalyze. You can analyze yourself right into a corner. Just do it. If you build it, they will come. You yourself are a testament to that. Selwyn, look at you. If you build it, they will come. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. This is so fun. I had such a great time this evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are so
This
welcome.
has been wonderful.
You have been electrifying. I was so happy to have you.
Can I do a quick plug?
Yes, you can. Of course, you can do a plug.
Okay, we're doing, if you can make it out, come to Polaris North on Tuesday, August 21st. We're at 429 West 29th Street on the 4th floor. We're doing a reading of my play, Thirst, the one that I talked about tonight.
Yes.
And just come. There'll be a nice reception afterward. There'll be audience feedback. I'd like to know what you think, because we're getting this play on the ground.
All right.
And it's free admission.
Okay, so here we go. August 21st.
Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Right. What time?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Where?
429 West 29th Street.
429 West 29th Street, August 21st at 4.
On the 4th floor.
On the 4th floor.
It starts at 7 p.m.
Starts at 7 p.m. Lori, thank you so much. And once again, thank you for coming. It was really a treat. It was an honor having you.
Thank you.
I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoy your pearls of wisdom. You've left us a treasure map into our own psyche, a treasure map to success. right? With all
Right.
these wonderful, inspirational quotes that you've given us. And one of the things I want to draw upon in my closing is, or borrow from you, is to just do it. Don't overanalyze. And I say this to speak to our people, Guyanese in the diaspora. Do not overanalyze the situation. Just do it. We have a unique opportunity to take advantage of this situation and to step beyond our limitations, beyond our fears, and to make a contribution, a positive contribution. You know, I like to use this term: if you cannot adopt a child, then adopt an attitude. Adopt a positive attitude, you know. And in that, I want to say thank you once again for lending me your ears. I'm really honored. But before I go, I want to read something Lily says in the chat room. Listening to Laurie tonight was definitely a treat. I enjoyed Mommy and wish you so much for the future. Please let us know when Thirst is ready. Wonderful show as always, Selwyn. Thank you so much, Lily. I guess you mentioned Thirst.
Yes.
Tuesday
yes.
21st. Let me see if my memory is good. Tuesday 21st on the 4th floor, 429
West 29th Street. Yes.
429 West 29th Street, 7 p.m.
Thanks,
Don't
Lily.
delay.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And this is Selwyn Collins signing off. Good night.